I also have to say that as important in my book, as important was being part of the community effort to support the weaker members of our community. I think that the work that we did, helping in the food distribution, helping into trying to train volunteers, working with Meg in her effort during the summer camp, all these things are also extremely important. And I feel that as a member of the Latino community, I was not only welcome, but also felt I was embraced in all these things. You know, for some people it's harder than for others, their personal styles. But overall, I think that it has been, even though the whole pandemic experience hasn't been easy, for me, it has been an excellent period of my life.
So just so that our audience knows, you're referring to the Coalition for Community that came together with the Hunger Task Force, who was feeding people anyway, but then all of a sudden we knew we needed food once a week for folks who, because of COVID, had food.
And we also knew that we needed to fill in the gaps in communication, that suddenly we had a community who usually did not need help with food because they were able to work.
Right.
We had a community that, especially regarding the schools, all right, because I participated also in with, I don't remember now his name, but he's the guy who's in charge of the food program in the schools.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know his name either, but yes, there is a food program, of course.
And so it was, he's an excellent person who did not doubt in like doing more than what his job description meant.
Right.
And I felt that at least with some of those people, we created a link that will go, even if we don't ever see each other, we went through that experience of feeling that we were fellows, that we were brothers and sisters in trying to help. And that has been really a very, very, very good experience for me.
Yeah, from what I observed too, Monica, and this is something, because we are the Coalition for Undoing, for Understanding Racism, and we have these conversations, I also observed, and I'll be very blatant about this, white people who generally lead, looking to you in a specific area of safety where you led, and that to me is sort of like what I see when I think of a piece of equity is following voices that we generally don't follow.
Yeah.
And you stepped in with this ownership of what you knew and your expertise. And we were able to follow you in that area. And I think, I wonder when we talk about, we always kind of grapple with charity and equity.
Yes.
And I wonder if you have any thoughts on when you look at our growing immigrant community and our more just poor community here in America, because we have a 20% poverty rate, right? In our school system.
Yes.
How do you see translating charity to equity? Are there a couple of things that come to mind for you based on your experiences?
Yes. I have to confess that it's something that is difficult for me, right? Because it kind of, this situation in which you are somehow on top and you are giving to the ones who have less, it's something that I understand, right? I understand.
It's necessary in moments.
Yeah. And I'm not judging because these are people who could choose not to help. But I think that it doesn't contribute to creating a more equitable society.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what the progress that I have seen is that institutions like the Community Resource Center, like people like me or others, have been able to say, hold the horses, this is something that we know how to do. Would you please let us take the lead, right? And honestly, I think that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that we have all the answers. It's not that, I am the only one that knows about safety, or that the Community Resource Center is the only one who can say what has to be done with the
Of course.
immigrant community. But it's true that we come from a place of knowledge. And if we are able to listen to those who know, we're going to be better.
Absolutely.
So that's what I see as a transition from charity to a more fair society.
Right.
And I think that is what we want, right? We want that after people, have their basic needs solved, because you can't go for change if you don't have enough to eat, right? That's your first priority. You need to feed your children, but we want to give space so those people are not left always in that position of like receiving, but also participating.
Absolutely.
So, but again, I think that from that point of view, I do have to recognize and give credit to incredible white people in a situation of privilege who are willing to hear the hard words and who are willing to say, well, how can we do this differently?
Absolutely. I agree. And I think when we talk about equity versus charity, or we talk about racism, there is this sort of knee-jerk reaction to get defensive.
Yes.
Because we think it's all of a sudden going to be a blame game on who's not doing this and who's racist and but when really what we see in this community is the first step, this willingness to roll up your sleeves, give of your time, give of your money, give of your bodies to putting these things together and making them happen. And I think that's when I'm at the food distributions and I go to them regularly, I start to see the same people and both helping and getting the food.
Yes.
And then you start to recognize, and then you wave, and then all of a sudden you know their name. And then, and to me, it's like how we can build community to the point where then we're really sitting down and listening to each other and saying, where is the equity missing? Is it affordable housing? Is it the rights of domestic workers and securing their jobs? All of these things that we partake in that, again, we didn't build. It isn't our fault. We didn't create it on purpose, but it exists, right? And so that's what I hope for our community, that when we have these conversations, we don't get defensive, but we get, oh, wait a second, let's go to the next level. What's the next level? It's going to be
I think that from that point of view, CURE has done an amazing job. And I think it's a celebration of, as I said, the people of goodwill that live in our community. Because at the end of the day, that's the best I can say about somebody. Are you somebody who is concerned about the well-being of others, and not just, your kids or your friends, but the well-being of the society in which you are putting your effort? And I see an incredible ownership, right? So the people who I've been working with are people that don't want to live in a place where there are other members of the community who are poor, or who feel, disenfranchised, or feel bullied. No,
right.
We don't know how to do it, but we want to change it. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, these have been incredible trying times because of, obviously, the pandemic is not easy on anybody. When you have less resources, it's natural that you want to protect what you have. But on the other hand, I think I have met incredible people who, even when they were faced with my sharp tongue, if you want,
passion, your passion,
had been like, okay, all right, what do you mean? And that is something extremely valuable.
Questions, right? To be able to ask questions instead of just close down.
Exactly. But again, I think I've been privileged to meet people who are good people, who have these questions about the history of this country, the way things have been done, who have compassion, right? Who have compassion.
Yeah.
So I feel I'm blessed. That's it.